Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough with Various Win for Pro and Expert Division for the Coastal Classics tournament here in Golf Clash the Game. We're gonna play a mix of the Porthello Cove and the White Cliffs, and this is gonna be a very tough tournament, even though these are courses we have had many times before. But there are no easy holes on any of these ones here, and that's gonna be super interesting to see what we can shoot. But before we take a closer look on all the videos, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. If you are looking to improve your game in whatever game mode in Golf Clash, then you scan the QR code here on the screen, or you go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. There you can choose between Checkpoint Challenge, Tour Play and regular tournament play. All of the info box on the right hand side for the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also what ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there's always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number 1. For hole number 1, which is hole number 6 of the White Cliffs Golf Club, we're going to try to get over on the right hand side, no matter what wind angle we do have off tee. Here use the driver with the most power possible, and also if you can play with a P4 or P5 ball in headwind, that would be definitely recommended. But you can also see that I'm using a limited amount of topspin, this to avoid a glitch roll that otherwise can glitch roll you into the rough. You will never be in danger of losing out on the birdie, but you will be in danger of losing out on a very good chance for an eagle. In a tailwind, we can actually send this one, but as we are, as it is easy for us to get very close to the green for a fairly simple approach shot, I'm not sure that a send it in all the wind direction is going to be the way to play. So max plus 20 on the drive. In headwind, we're going to use a lot of overpower, and I'm using a power 5 ball just to accommodate when it comes to the headwind. Now on the approach, we are going to play from min line, or let's say like this, it's going to be whatever club distance you have. In my opinion, we are a little bit too close to the pin here and has to use a lot of backspin. I would rather have to go with a limited amount of backspin, or like a very little amount of backspin, and have a smoother ball guideline towards the pin. Leaving the ball guideline through the hole here, we're gonna center the ball and hit perfect, and the elevation that I'm using here is minus 20% because we're playing this one massively uphill. Very good chance to start off with an eagle. Hole number 2 has always been very difficult par 3 in tour play, in my opinion. But in tournament play, this is actually a fairly decent chance for an hole in 1. It's way easier, in my opinion, than hole number 6, for an example. And this is because we can go for the rough bump. It may look very glitchy here, and it's often because you find the wrong spot. You can see that I'm somewhat looking around for different spots here in the rough, and decide to play with a sniper for the best accuracy and for the best ball guideline of the wood clubs that I'm having. Max plus 10, and we need to have in mind here that when we do play with a tailwind, the ball will fly a little bit longer than where we aim, so we can't aim just close to the rough line. Then we're going to have to compensate for with underpower, and that's not really something we do want to do. Perfect ball it is. I'm gonna bounce into the rough, and you can see here now that we're rolling down towards the pin, coming in a little bit hot, obviously. But from a tournament perspective, it doesn't really matter. We do want to give the ball a chance to drop, not stay short in line. So a rough bump here, in my opinion, a decent chance for an hole-in-one. When it comes to hole number 3 here, we do recommend to play with minimum a power 3 ball. And if you do have a situation where your driver do not have a decent amount of curl, we're going to have to go directly over to the fairway to the right, or we're going to have to go on the left. If you're having a lot of curl, you can use that platform there and use and bounce with your first bounce. But then it's going to have to be like clubs such as high level rock, high level quarterback, maybe an apocalypse or something like that. Max plus 10 is the adjustment. I'm using not all the top spin because I do want to find myself safely on that fairway pad, because there is no risk on this tough par 5 to put yourself in a spot where you roll into the rough here, because if you do go into the rough or into the sand, you will have a very tough time to reach for the green in two. Landing nicely here on the fairway will allow us to have a shot for the pin on the second shot. Second shot, we're going to play through club distance. We're going to play no elevation on this one here. I've added mid in the info box on the right, but it's going to rather be around max line, because the value with this here is to actually use as little topspin possible. But depending on what type of club you're using, then that depends on how close you will be towards the pin. There's nothing wrong playing with a Cataclysm or something like that, but the problem with Cataclysm is that you do not really have the ball guideline, so you will have to guess. So, adjustment is done. We're gonna center the ball, and in this instance, we do hit perfect. And we're looking now for a look at the Albatross. It bounces on the fairway and comes onto the green, and it rolls a bit to the left of the pin. Good speed though, but it's the direction we need to work on. On hole number 8, we're going to play an NMT. What that means is that we're not touching the target until it's time to adjust the rings. Why is that helpful? It's because then we're removing one part of the total adjustment that could become an issue for us, as it's always going to be difficult to be replicating the same landing spot. At least it's more difficult when you have to find a landing spot than when you don't have to in this instance. Medium distance plus 20, leaving the ball guideline way short to compensate for the extended ball guideline. And as you can see on the nature of the green, there is not much room for error here. And what I mean with that is that the error of coming a little bit more left or a little bit more right will be a massive amount of danger. You can see here now, even though I'm very close to the pin with my ball, it still falls down. If you don't have speed control, you will roll into the rough or the bunker. And that's something you're going to have to practice, or just follow someone that do know what they are doing, especially if you don't know yourself. Because once again, coming in too hot, you are in the rough or in the sand, and then that's going to be a tough one to save. But if you at least have speed control, it doesn't really matter if you get a hole in one or you just barely roll down the green. It's still going to be a wedge from the fairway or from the fringe. Hole in one here is absolutely possible, but we don't really have much margin to play on. So hole 8 is definitely a very difficult par 3. Hole number 5, which is hole number 9 of the Porthello Cove, is one of the tougher par 5s in my opinion. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use a bag that do have the wood club that gives me the most power, because on the second shot, if we're going to have any sort of chance, we do need a lot of power, that regardless if we play left or right. Playing an NMT here using an adjustment that is going to be max plus 20. And once we have done that adjustment, we are going to apply curl. Here you can't apply max curl, because then it's very easy for you to curl into the rough or sand. So I'm using a semi amount of curl, around 1.5 ball, to keep myself on the right hand side of the fairway without obviously rolling into the rough. You can see here now that we're getting maybe a little bit close to comfort, but at least now we are as close as we can towards the pin. All the right spin and all the topspin you can. The more topspin you have, the better it's going to be, because now we're going to have, you can see in the wind angle, we do have a headwind on the approach, which is not something that I do really want to have, and that's going to be difficult. But more of that on the second shot. So on the second shot here, we would benefit a lot from having a P4 or P5 ball. That could mean that we could do for a rough bump, but now we are in a scenario when we can't do that. So what I'm focusing on here is to have a safe way to get for the eagle, and that by doing one top spin and all the right spin. Adjust is going to be from here. You can see how elevated it is from here. You will play a different elevation from here than you will up there, for an example. So that's going to be somewhat like a floating type of thing. So here plus 15 is fairly accurate. I'm going to apply I'm going to do that. all the curl to the right I'm using just before circle drop OP, and here to maybe have a look at the Albi. But you see, we are doing too much, roll over the green, and this is obviously the risk of taking by going aggressive. So maybe reduce the topspin a little bit if you want to go aggressive, or just reduce the curl. But I think it's important to see these type of things as well, where on tough par 5s, the difference between a situation of getting an albatross or just getting into a position where we are in the rough is truly something that's going to happen to a lot of players. So decide for what type of play you want to do, and then either attack or play conservative. Hole number 8, which in Eurotrip 9 Cup, which also is Porthello Cove hole number 7, using 3 left spin, and we are going to go with 5.8 topspin here. What I'm looking for is to have my second bounce to be just into the rock, like the big rock patch there. Adjustment is max plus a 10, and here I'm using a couple of clicks of overpower just to compensate for the headwind. The goal here is to get the ball to be around the green, and that's why using a club such as the Apocalypse that do have a lot of curl, that could be also a quarterback, could be the rock, and it can also be different types of power hooks to get yourself up there towards the green. No matter what way you're playing, this hole is needed to be an eagle. If you do have a headwind, you can still reach over, but you need more topspin, and you also need to use a special ball to get the distance enough. So if you can't do that, you're gonna have to lay up if so. Now, obviously, we're going to take a look at the wedge. We're not going to take a look at the drive again. And the wedge is super simple, really. You can use all the top spin if you like and get yourself an even shorter one. But I'm just demonstrating no spin, playing 20% elevation and whatever power ball you are using, which is power 3 in this instance. Ball guideline into the hole, adjust, and you can see here now, even if I'm adjusting 5 rings, which is not 5 rings, but even if I would be adjusting 5 rings or 10 rings, the ball guideline is most likely not even gonna leave the hole, which makes this wedge being super simple. So an eagle here in hole number 8, which also is Porthello Cove hole number 7, is gonna have to be a must. Hole number 7 here in the Coastal Cliffs tournament, a par 3 of White Cliff. This is a par 3 that is unfortunately extremely boring, and what I mean with that is like it is going to be very difficult to drop this one from distance continuously. So you either go for a sand bump or you go for a bounce over like this. Sure, you can go for a backspin boost shot too, but that's going to be very hard to control the bounces. When it comes to the sniper, play 30% elevation through club distance. I'm trying to use a ball that reduces the wind as much as possible, and then we're going to hit perfect. The ball will then come in on the left side of the bunker, bouncing on the fairway, down towards the green, and we're getting very close for an hole-in-one. Again, super tough par 3 where many players should and will be happy with just a birdie. For hole number 8, we are going to push the ball down this side in literally any type of wind. We do want to have a side spin 3 ball, and the reason for that is that we do want to get help and not rely to have like a massive amount of curl. Adjust max plus 10, and we're gonna play with this amount of curl. I'm using just before circle drop OP. You can see here now that we are gonna bounce on the fairway, close to the rough, not that close, but kind of close, and get the ball down as far as possible. And what we're looking for here in this scenario is to get to a short iron. Pack the short iron that has the best ball guideline for you. and then you're gonna have a good look. If you do have a wind like this, and the wind is maybe a little bit stronger, especially when that it is in expert, you can use a P5 ball and you can carry directly over the rough and the sand and actually get yourself either to green or close to green with an aggressive play. But here we're just laying out, playing conservative, using free-to-play ball. On the second shot, we're gonna check where max club is, and then we're gonna say check where min club is, and we can see that this is approximately mid club here. We're gonna use backspin here, and in my opinion, it is important to use the thorn, as we do then have enough backspin to allow for not be bouncing so close to the rough line. 20% elevation from here. It is a pretty elevated shot, but not just that, it's also that the bounces that we're having is going to be affected by the wind quite a bit too. Center the ball and hit perfect, and you're gonna see yourself having a good look at the eagle here from distance. Hole number 9, a couple of things here, and I think the most important part here is if you can play with a ball with more power, please do. Especially if you do have headwind. Having to play with a power 3 ball, as I'm forcing myself to do in this video, is just pain. And it's going to put so much pressure on the drive that it's going to be very easy to roll too long and roll into the rough. And if you do that, then it's game over. You cannot reach for the green in 2 because of all the water that we're going to have to cross, and we can't do that with our short iron. Sorry, rough iron. Adjust max plus 10, and here I'm using whatever overpower I adjust into. Again, if playing with a higher power ball, that's why I'm suggesting the luminary in the info box. You're going to have to what can I say, going with the luminary there is going to give you a scenario where you're going to have to not go with overpower, and then the second shot, as you will notice now, is going to be much easier. Now, 2 things. Playing with a sniper in headwind is stupid. Yeah, we can just agree on that, because it doesn't have the power. Use the Cataclysm or the Big Dog instead. Give yourself the power and give yourself a much easier time to play this shot. If you, however, have a headwind, you cannot really attack the pin directly if you're not playing with a good ball and with a good club. Then you're going to have to aim to the left, and you're going to have to go with full curl and some backspin to try to just land the ball close to green. You see we bounce on the fairway, and the backspin allows us to stop before the rough, and then we do have a simple wedge from distance. Once again though, pick the correct ball, pick the correct club, make the life a little bit easier for you here on hole number 9. No elevation on the second shot, 10% elevation on the drive. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Pro and Expert division with various wins for the Coastal Classic tournament, that makes up the Portola Cove and the White Cliff, White Cliff tournament. Yeah, it's going to be a mix of those 2 courses at least. It's going to be very interesting because it's 2 very difficult courses to dig into. Make sure to comment in the comment section below what you think about the upcoming tournament. Scan the QR code on the screen, or you use the link patreon.com/golfclashtommy in the description down below, and make sure to sign up to any of our packages. We do offer something for every game mode in the game: Checkpoint Challenge, Tour Play, and tournaments. So sign up and you will not be disappointed. Good luck!